is a school district, so.
This is the May 21st regular board meeting of the Palo Alto Unified School District Board of Education. The board will recess into closed session to discuss public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54957, Superintendent of Schools, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, case number 524CV909, and conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, and employee discipline dismissal release leaves pursuant to Government Code 54957B1. We will reconvene at about 6:30. Is the recording ready? Can we start? Are we ready? Are we good? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. We're ready? Okay. This is the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting of the Palo Alto Unified School District Board of Education. The board met in closed session and voted unanimously, with Mr. Collins absent, to approve a satisfactory evaluation for the superintendent. The board also voted 4-0 to approve the resignation agreement and general release of claims with employee number HR 05212-413. We'll now move to approving the agenda order. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda order?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
There was one, sorry, I'm trying to pull up the agenda. In the discussion, I wanted to make a motion to change switch items B and C.
Switch the order?
Yes, just switch the order.
Okay, so let's see if I can get this right. There is an amendment to the motion to approve the agenda order but with also switching the order of 7B and 7C.
Yes.
Can I have a second for the amendment to the motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, let's vote on the amended motion first.
Yeah. Yes,
She
it took
wants
me
to
a
put-
second to find it too.
To put Mr. Holmes' items next to each
that-
other.
Okay.
Smart.
Okay, all right, so student board members, preferential vote on the motion. Yeah. Okay. Colleagues?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. So agenda order is approved with that switch. Okay, moving on now to student board member reports.
Hi, everyone. For our last board report, you'll hear from me.
Hi, Carthy.
Hello. There's a lot of stuff been going on at Pally because it is closing out the school year. Notably, this Saturday, we had prom at Gilroy Gardens. Super well received. There was, I know, some hesitation about the location, whether or not it'd be fun, but everyone I saw really enjoyed the rides. We had a good time, despite the cold weather, because unfortunately, we cannot control the weather, and we have not learned that technology yet. About 900 people attended, and despite some minor issues with the busing, which I know all the Pally students are aware of, we got it through, and it was a great time. We also had cookies on the quad yesterday. We passed out 1,350 cookies, 56 boxes, $600 that were all distributed to everyone, because going into the week before finals, or as we call it, dead week, we want everyone to have a good time. That's also why we started Snack and Study, which is going on for every day this week until Thursday. The library will be open until 6 or 6:30, depending on specific days. You can find all the information on Schoology. And we're also bringing pizza so we can eat, study, and prepare in cooperation with your friends. We're also super grateful to all the PTSA volunteers for bringing us the pizza because not enough of us can drive yet and have Costco memberships. So thank you to the parents who have been willing to go get us pizza from Costco so we aren't starving. On Monday, we also had animals visiting, a sort of stress reduction petting zoo type thing. Thank you to Wellness for bringing that in. And yeah, I know a lot of people had fun with that. We had field day last Friday, a sort of last hurrah fun before finals. Every class organized their own games, ranging from mini bowling to darts to water guns, one of which is still missing. If you have that, please return it to ASB. We had Teacher Appreciation Week, during which we passed out a bunch of notes to every single teacher, I believe, received one. And this was through a forum that we opened up to all students to be able to, either anonymously or with their name attached, send a note of appreciation to the teachers who have been working so hard recently to make sure we are all ready for finals. All this stuff is graded because I know every single student has been submitting tons and tons of work recently. We had a visit on last Monday during lunch from Joanna Ho. We also had AP testing, which is thankfully mostly complete unless you have to do makeup AP testing. That went really well for everyone, and I'm honestly super proud of the way it went out. I know I've heard horror stories from people in other schools with issues with the running, fire alarms, and we did not have any major issues. We had our ASB retreat as well. We started planning the next year's back to school dance and spirit week. This is something we do every single year to get the past ASB and the future ASB together to come talk about what the future will look like. Freshmen held an ice cream social with a ton of great attendance. Sophomores also had a record attendance at their class council meeting and also have an ice cream social upcoming this week. Juniors held another boba event, and seniors had their senior spirit week. They're also, right now, senior elimination running, and we are down to our final 4. And tomorrow, we will have the yearbook distribution. And I also wanted to say, for all these students, parents, and teachers out there, that this is a stressful time. We have about a week and a half left of school, and I know we're all going to be able to get through it. And with that, I'll pass it on to Chris.
So thank you, Karthi. At Gunn, things have been winding down as well. From April 29th to May 3rd, we held our annual Global Cultures Week with daily performances, dances, games, and trivia. It was a great way for our Gunn community to see the cultural diversity that our school has to offer. And of course, the highlight of the week was Wednesday when our PTSA held their Global Tastings Day during lunch on the quad. We had invites from various parts of the world, including North, Central, and South America, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, South and East Asia, etc. Thank you to our diversity commissioners on SEC and the PTSA for helping to make that week happen. Last Friday, May 17th, PAUSD, in partnership with the Special Olympics of Northern California and the Community Advisory Committee for Special Education in Palo Alto, held the annual Special Olympics track and field event on the Gunn Athletic Field. The event united over 200 students from 27 different classes in PAUSD's special education programs, ranging from kindergarten to post-secondary. Over 175 staff members also attended as well from schools in Palo Alto, Mountain View, Atherton, and Menlo Park. Also last Friday after school, SEC held a Sweet 16 birthday party for our mascot, Timmy the Titan. Students were able to take pictures with him on a royal throne, play games such as Spike Ball and Connect 4, and get free cotton candy, Otter Pops, and popcorn. Thanks, Josh, our dance commissioner, for helping to make this final school-wide SEC event happen. And while our school-wide activities have mostly been winding down, our senior festivities have only just started. So last Friday during SELF, seniors enjoyed ice cream on the quad and signed senior shirts. Today, seniors were able to start picking up their yearbooks, and tomorrow will be Wear Your Future Day, where seniors can wear something that represents their post-gun plans. To close off the week, on Friday, we'll be having our annual senior paper toss during brunch, where we throw up all of our papers from the past 4 years and senior sunset after school. Then next week, seniors don't have school, but we'll be going to the Santa Cruz Boardwalk for our annual picnic. And finally, after graduation on Thursday, the PTSA is organizing grad night to celebrate our final night together as a class. Outside of SEC, other things have been happening as well. So on May 3rd, our physics classes all participated in Physics Day and headed to Great America. students to the lab to see the physics behind different rides, using a phone app to collect data. I'm sure it was a great way to de-stress before AP tests the following week. Some of those nightmare things that Carthy mentioned did happen at Gunn. So during our AP Psych exam, with only 2 or 3 minutes left, the fire alarm went off. And then during the AP Physics exam, we got 2 people's booklets mixed up. So that caused some confusion, but luckily everything worked out in the end. Thanks Dr. Hickson, Ms. Hullier, and all of our parent volunteers for making the entire testing process possible. Last Friday, the first issue of the Oracle, produced by our junior staff, was distributed during lunch. At the end of each year, the Oracle staff splits in 2 after we choose our editorial board for the following year. So returning staffers work on our regular Oracle issue, while our senior staff puts together a magazine celebrating our graduating class's accomplishments, achievements, and talents. This year was definitely interesting. Out of our class's 41 in-class staffers, 26 of them are seniors. So our junior staff was tiny, but they still pulled through and they put together an amazing 16-page full-color issue. Our senior issue will be a 48-page full-color magazine that comes out tomorrow, and we're so excited for everyone to read it. And finally, for things that are coming up, like I mentioned before, graduation is next Thursday. It's hard to believe that it's all over, but we're definitely all looking forward to the ceremony. For everyone else, next week is finals, so good luck, but that's all I have.
Thank you. Before we move on, I just want to, not to make any assumptions, but there are a lot of teachers signed up for open forum, and if you're here to talk about negotiations, can you change your card with Vicki, even if you're just going to say something really brief? We need to stick with, otherwise you're not going to be able to talk. So change your card with Vicki if you're here to talk about negotiations, please. All right, now let's move on to student board representative recognition.
So it's our tradition that the board vice president gets thank you gifts for the student board reps. And so on behalf of the school board, I have some gifts to give you. But I also just want to thank you, because it's not just the time that you spend in these board meetings, but it is clear that you spend so much time preparing for the board meetings. You are out in the community. You are getting student input. You are getting teacher input. You're getting community input, and you're asking thoughtful questions. When I was a student, I did not have the bravery to speak at board meetings, and you are here at each and every one. And my favorite part of the board meeting is listening to the student board reports. So thank you so much.
Go ahead, Lydia. Yeah, go for it. Want to say something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, very quickly, I want to echo what Ms. Siegel said. There are little messages in your cards from each of us, but we are so grateful for the input, for the reflection, for the hard work. I feel like every year you guys are stepping up more and more. And it's just, we are grateful. We are a better board because you two are on it, and you bring lots of feedback from your sites, and you think hard about all the topics that are coming in front of us, and you will be missed. Thank you.
I know we have a long agenda ahead of us, so before that, I also wanted to say a few quick thank yous. This is a role I've wanted since I was a freshman, and seeing Thomas doing, seeing Annika do it, seeing Daniel do it, like just reaffirmed my desire to be in this role. And winning my election last March was definitely one of like top 3 moments of high school. But since then, winning was truly only the start. I think local government always gets a little bit of a bad rep. I always kind of just viewed it like Parks and Rec, where like everything's slightly comical, everything's very bureaucratic, you're not entirely sure how meaningful everything is. And I know every student board rep says this every year, but being here on Tuesdays has just completely changed my perspective on that. I've learned just how much everyone genuinely cares about district equity, early literacy, mental health, innovation, and so on. And it's been so cool to witness how SWIFT, the PAUSD promise, and all of the different other items that come before the board are truly used as metrics of progress and go beyond colorful graphics or cool acronyms. So to close, just a bunch of thank yous. Thank you, Dr. Austin, for meeting with me and Carthy before every meeting. Dr. DeBrienza and Ms. Ladimir for being amazing board presidents this year, who not only supported my ambitions and plans as board rep, but also cared for me as a person and as a student. Thank you, Dr. Stratton, and to the rest of the Gunn admin team for all of their impactful, selfless work this year for students. And that same thank you to everyone else here today. My tenure in this position was made so much more meaningful, fruitful, informative because of your guys' work. And even in college, I think this is definitely something I'll look back at. So thank you.
You're not even graduating. You can't even.
I can't even say that much. I'm not graduating, but I didn't write anything out, but I also had a few words I wanted to say. My story is a little different from Chris's. I actually did not know the board rep was a thing until about a week before the actual selection process. A friend of mine, who's currently the ASB president, approached me and said, "Hey, there's this position that's open. I think you'd really like it. Look into it. See if you want to apply." And I did, and I applied, and I got it. And I never expected that my path would be in this direction, sitting at this table. But that's where it led me. And honestly, this has been one of the most valuable experiences of my high school career, learning from all of you guys. And in every single one of my conversations with Dr. Austin, all of you board members, I really get a sense that as a student, we don't always know what's going on up here. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And being able to talk to you guys has really humanized it. And it's also helped me learn a lot, both about myself, how things work. And I learned a lot from you guys, so thank you.
Thank you, guys. You will both be missed. All right, let's move on to Superintendent of Schools report.
And I had my conversation with both of our board reps earlier, and they know how I feel about them and really appreciate the work they put into everything also. And I'm looking at my notes, and then just like 2 minutes ago, I just got wrecked. You know, your phone buzzes, and if you're expecting something, sometimes you look down, and I looked down, and there was the picture that my wife just sent me of our youngest daughter walking across the stage. She's graduating right this minute. Well, apparently just did. And just finished her student teaching and is just finished with her teaching credential. And then she had to take the extra step of saying, remember kindergarten grad promotion? Better say promotion, because anyone says graduation, I have a hard time with that because I'm a high school person. But that time when you dress your kids up for the kinder celebration, it's such a fun time. And actually what I'd just written a couple notes about is, you know, schools and school systems are circles. They're circles and cycles all in one. And they're bell driven, they're calendar driven. They start at the same time, they end at the same time. Usually have the same high points and low points. I write about it every single year, and every year we seem surprised when we hit those same highs and same lows. But they're cycles. And, you know, in the last few weeks, that's when the cycles become even the most obvious. And it's, you go to one day you're at a retirement celebration and you're talking to people about their careers, their path, their journey. And, you know, another point in the day like today, I was calling people I haven't met yet because we just hired them. They'll be teaching and working with us next year. So on one side, you're hearing this enthusiasm about something they're just getting ready to embark on. On the other side, people are reflecting about, you know, they might have enthusiasm about that next part of their life, but in that moment, they're thinking about, you know, what has been a part of their life. And then students are the same. You know, at one moment I'm in an office talking about, you know, where someone's going to leave and go in August or September of next year. But earlier in the week, I was in registration services seeing 4- and 5-year-olds show up from literally all over the world. This is the most kind of international setting I've ever been in, especially with Stanford and the hospital and the tech industry. We get people from everywhere. So, we've got, one heading off to Georgetown and then we've got a 4-year-old from Sweden. And they're totally opposite places, but they'll be part of the same system. And hopefully we'll have more good than bad experiences when they're here with us. And then I think Chris mentioned the Special Olympics, and that just really always gets me too about the people that trust us with their kids. And everyone has to have a degree of trust to send their kids to school, and some people need more because they're just dealing with different things. So none of that is lost on me, and especially right in the moment, just thinking about those cycles and how I'm looking forward to the next one. There'll be a next one, and when the people retire, the people that looked up to them will now be the people other people are going to look up to. And one day you're the new person, and another day you're the mentor, you're the lead. So it's the way we're built, it's the way it goes. But I don't know of another profession that has a more predictable cycle, and one that once you get into, you can really lean in and enjoy. So looking forward to the final celebrations, the graduations, the promotions, all the fun stuff that goes along with the end of a year. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now for something exciting. California School Employees Association Employee of the Year Awards.
Good evening. Meb Steiner, President of Palo Alto Chapter 301, CSEA. This is always a really fun award for us. I want to introduce two amazing ladies over here. They're going to actually take the lead on this, Joan Shear and Phyllis Smith. They are both retired, and they are still actively involved with CSEA and contribute so much, making people feel welcome. The two of them have been leading the charge on this award for so long, and I'm so glad they're continuing that. They asked for nominations, and we got, in a very short span, over 100, and they culled through that. And it's always very difficult, and then they choose some folks, a lot of deserving folks. Some very deserving folks are here today. It's part of also our celebration of Classified School Employees Week, which is going to be next week. And that was created by the state legislature to honor the work of classified staff. So take a moment to say thanks to them. I know how much everyone who works here in the district in a classified role, that's basically everybody other than teachers and administrators, really loves what they do. And so I will turn it over to Phyllis and Joan and just stand back there and look nice.
Well, thank you very much for having us. I really enjoy this, and I love, so we always meet up with the recipients one at a time at their school site and surprise them. So they don't know they're getting it until we come up and we have their staff or their students or everybody around. And then voila, guess what you get? And so today, this year we have 3 recipients. And so I will ask them to come up 2 at a time. So it will be the principal and the recipient. And they will, I'll introduce them and they will receive their certificate, and we have an engraved paperweight for them so that they won't forget what year they won this. And then their principal will have a few words to say about them. So I would like to introduce Katie Bipson. And Jose Elizade, and I'm sorry if I pronounced it horrible.
I am absolutely thrilled and honored to be here tonight to talk about Jose. Can you come stand next to me, please, sir? Jose is everywhere all the time. He is our daytime school custodian, but he is so much more than that. Jose treats our campus like his home. He pays attention to detail. He does everything himself. I'll say, Jose, can I help you do that? No, I've got it. I've got it. And he is called to do things multiple times a day that he never signed up to do. He gets called. I know that when you signed up to be custodian, you did not sign up to remove a black widow from a closet or find a lost chicken, or there were so many things that you do that, and every time I hear it in my mind, we have our walkie-talkies on, and Mr. Jose, this is so-and-so, this is Jose, we've got this situation. No problem, I'll be right there. I hear it all the time. He's calm, he's level-headed, he's beloved by students, staff, and families alike. He shows up, he's here beyond, above and beyond every single day. He works with our 2 night custodians so equitably and so beautifully. Our team gets along. This team, we're so fortunate to have him. I can honestly say he is the best custodian I have ever worked with, and I say that with all my heart. So, Jose, you deserve it. He's actually working tonight, so we're going to have him. He came here especially for this, so I'm going to walk him out, but thank you.
And so next, I would like to have Nicole, I'm horrible with names, I'm sorry. Manu? Who will be saying a few words to the secretary at Greendale School, Fiona Gersh. So would you two come up?
Well, there's nothing better than to talk about Fiona. And anyone who knows Fiona knows what I mean, because Fiona, come on up here. It is such a pleasure to be able to share what I get to live 5 days a week, 213 days out of the year, which is to work with Fiona. And it's been incredible. She, of course, was nominated by the Greendale staff, and I'm sure many Hoover teachers as well, because she has been so instrumental in just really keeping Greendale running throughout the 10 years that she's worked there. She's trained a couple of principals, including me, what it means to run Greendale in preschool, family, and young fives. And not only that, she's just the backbone of the school. She has such energy and positivity, and she knows to get things done before I even ask her. It's like we're of one mind. I'll walk in and she's like, done, I got it. And then it's like I depend on her more than I can say. So it's a privilege to give you the recognition that you deserve. I do have to say that when I took up the position of Greendale, she trained me, but then when I was offered the admin for Hoover, there was one thing I told Dawn, which is, I gotta ask Fiona, because I can only make this work if Fiona can do it with me. And when I told her, she's like, that's brilliant. And here we are. So Fiona, I appreciate you. Your staff appreciates you. She really deserves this award year after year. So it's a privilege to call you a colleague and a friend. So.
And next, I would like to invite up Wendy Stratton, who is the principal at Gunn High School, and Jennifer Wells-Akis, who is the English language aide at Gunn High School. It's all yours.
So it's really a pleasure to uplift someone who does so much for students behind the scenes. She serves as our EL program specialist support for the last 5 circles of high school with 3 different staff members and teachers, and she really was the piece that held the program together and the best aspects of the program together. Above and beyond that, she creates this tremendous sense of belonging for our EL students. She's that person that will support a student in advocating for them with a teacher when they're uncomfortable. She's that person they can ask for support both academically and personally. She creates that safety that we really want in that type of classroom, and it's just such a great opportunity and honor to recognize her tonight.
Congratulations to all of our recipients that won the Employee of the Year Awards this year. And thank you for letting us come and be a part of your meeting. And we will see you next year.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to open forum, and it looks like we have 11 or 12 speakers. So that's going to be 1.5 minutes each, Vicki. Okay, we are going to start with Stephen Davis, Suzanne Duran, and Jolene Roach.
Good evening. I am a parent representative on the JLS Site Council, but I am not speaking on behalf of that group today. I was surprised to hear that JLS will have 950 students next year, with more potentially coming, but I was kind of shocked to hear that they might have to add portable classrooms. Because I'm here at these meetings and at the same time Green and Fletcher are struggling to fill their classes. I'm kind of puzzled. Palo Alto should have had the capability to forecast this based on enrollment at our elementary schools months ago. Apparently this has been brought up to district leadership, yet no action has apparently been taken. Changes to enrollment boundaries or even the allocation of elementary schools to different middle schools, or even just a call for voluntary transfers could have been implemented months ago to mitigate these effects both in the short and long term. Our district is facing serious demographic changes, both a reduction in the size of our student population and an apparent shift in where our students live. It is time for the district and board to take these changes seriously to serve our students today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Duran, Jolene Roach, and Kelly Zalatino.
Hi, good evening. Suzanne Doran. So I'm here to talk about Chromebooks. And in 2021, Green Middle School overwhelmingly voted to move from a one-to-one Chromebook model to a Chromebook cart system. And the classroom cart model was successfully phased in over a couple of years. However, recently, our expertise and experience having used both systems are being ignored. JLS and Fletcher, teachers and admin, also asked to move to a cart system. PAEA recently surveyed all 3 middle schools, and 80% of teachers at all 3 sites want a cart system. Dr. Lopez has only stated that the 3 middle schools have to align and has provided no rationale for this. Were families surveyed? Were students surveyed? We want to know how a one-to-one model is an educationally sound decision for middle school students. The classroom cart model is a fair, equitable, and sustainable and supportive mental health model for students, families, and teachers. Boom, 1 minute.
Well timed. Jolene Roach, Kelly Zalatimo, and Corinne Headley.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm here to talk about Chromebooks and equity. Having regular access to charged, fully functioning Chromebooks at school in the classroom is a matter of equity. When so many of our supports for students include online systems or apps like iReady, Learning Ally audiobooks, Delta Math, Google Read and Write, and when many of our students with IEPs or 504s need access to word processing as an accommodation, Chromebooks are essential. Our experience with one-on-one resulted in every class period having students without the ability to access their supports or content. Too many students damaged or lost Chromebooks or did not charge them, and there aren't enough extra chargers or extra Chromebooks to make up the difference. Returning to a one-on-one model instead of a cart system hurts our equity and achievement goals in the long term. Having Chromebook carts in each classroom, as we successfully have worked towards at Green, means every child has the learning tools they need. Under Green's cart system, we also provided computers to kids who needed them at home, providing a full circle of support. Thank you.
Hello, also speaking to Chromebooks, but I'm shorter. Let's see. In addition to what my colleagues just shared, one of the key reasons Green voted to adopt a cart model after experiencing one-to-one earlier was due to the screen addiction we saw. In fact, screen addiction was the #1 concern of 8 issues that teachers selected for concerns about a one-to-one model when we surveyed teachers at all 3 middle schools. School avoidance is another issue the district cares about and has measures to reduce, so it's curious that we would opt for a one-to-one model. A student who does not want to be in school or wants to avoid work has a convenient excuse if their ability to do the work is dependent on them bringing a charged, functioning Chromebook. The kids most harmed by this one-to-one policy are those who most need our support, those struggling to come to school and engage in lessons. We also have, this is fast. We also have concerns about sustainability. We have pictures of stacks and stacks of Chromebooks that are too damaged for use, yet we have a school dedicated to sustainability. The electronic waste generated by the one-to-one system versus the cart system is phenomenal. We hope the board will look into this decision and demand a rationale that explains why district staff, instead of adopting a successful cart model, chose a one-to-one model that burdens students, parents, and teachers, and that weakens all of our efforts to support equity.
Please email us the rest of your comments, board@pausd.org. Corinne Headley, Sarith Honigstein, and Robin Morris.
Hi, good evening. I'm actually here to thank my community. So if you don't mind, I'm going to turn a little bit because these are the people I really want to thank.
Wait, are you talking about negotiations? You got to
No,
change
I'm
your
not.
card.
I'm a special ed teacher and I'm a parent, and this year has been really difficult in our department. We lost a member we lost a member unexpectedly. At the very beginning of the school year, we had another person go out on mental health leave. And next year, we'll start with more brand new teachers than we ever have before. This job is really difficult, and I just need to really stand here and say thank you to my fellow teachers and for the parents and for the students who supported us this year. It's meant so much. And I turn to you to say that thank you because usually I'm full of energy and full of life, and I feel very drained. And I wouldn't have made it through without people like Jen, like Terry, like David, like Tom, like Josh, like Kelly, like Diane. Thank you all. I love being a teacher. I love it so much.
Thank you. Sarith Honigstein, Robin Morris, and Mika Iluz.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of the Palo Alto Parent Alliance and over 1,300 community members who have signed our petition. We come to you with a heartfelt request to pause the ongoing revisions to the Ethnic Studies course, ensuring alignment with the district's board policies and our shared commitment to community involvement. The State Board of Education has emphasized in its Ethnic Studies model curriculum the need for transparency, and the inclusion of all community stakeholders in developing such critical educational materials. Our district's policies not only support but require that core standards are set with input from our community. Furthermore, the PAUSD promise has committed to increasing community engagement. Therefore, we are here tonight to ask you, our trustees, to pause the changes being made to the Ethnic Studies course. We urge you to genuinely involve our community and provide for continuous public input and accessibility for a course that has been controversial, subject to lawsuits, and was the focus of a congressional panel. Your thoughtful consideration will reinforce our district's dedication to an inclusive and transparent educational process. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin, Micah, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, and Ite.
Good evening. My name is Robin Morris. We have kids in the Palo Alto School District. So again, I'm going to talk about ethnic studies. The goal in California ethnic studies was for students to value inclusivity, diversity, and appreciate multiple groups' contributions and struggles. This is what's known as inclusive ethnic studies. I attended all the public sessions from the school district on the proposed ethnic studies course. And what we see is that the school district is taking a different approach. There's a very narrow focus on 4 groups, and there's a focus on oppression, power, privilege, and resistance. This is not inclusive ethnic studies. This is liberated ethnic studies. Both of these approaches, inclusive and liberated, are in the California model curriculum. But what we've seen in the presentations from the school district is that the school district is using the liberated components as the primary focus. Other elements, essential elements of the inclusive studies, histories, contributions, are not referenced in the model materials that have been provided to us. The current school district plan appears to be liberated ethnic studies. Please, as Sarith has said, pause these revisions to enable broader community involvement to decide which way we would like the school district to go in their ethnic studies. Let's come together and let's make sure that the course represents the values of the community. Let's do this for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Micah, Ite Daidon, and Shirley Chen.
Good evening. My name is Micah Iluz. I'm here as one of the over 1,300 who signed the Palo Alto Parents Alliance petition on the district's ethnic studies course revision. PAUSD has been working on revising this course for 18 months with plans to pilot the course this coming August. However, this process has proceeded without meaningful community input, transparency, and responsiveness. Parents in the district have tried repeatedly to meet with Drs. Austin and Lopez, who have declined to meet with individual parents or community members, and in some cases, not responded to meeting requests at all. Efforts to get information via public records requests have been delayed, ignored, and even canceled. We're asking that standards be developed with community input and involvement and with truly meaningful transparency and engagement. We're asking you to move forward with the graduation requirement, but please pause the rollout of the new course. This pause will enable the district to develop board-mandated standards for the course and engage the community so we have an ethnic studies course our entire community can benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you. Ite Daidon, Shirley Chen, and Star Teachout.
Good evening. My name is Itai Dadon and I have kids in the Palo Alto schools. Please pause your ethnic studies course revision. Why are we concerned? Because despite reassurances that PAUSD is not using liberated ethnic studies, the consultant that PAUSD hired, UC Berkeley, does. They directly link to liberated ethnic studies as a recommended resource. Other resources they point to are also right there with Liberated, presenting a negative view of capitalism, linking to defundthepolice.org, glorifying armed revolution movements. They even suggest that students write manifestos modeled after ethno-separatist militant groups. Is this really the ethnic studies that we want? Do we need more proof? Jason Muniz, the program director, signed a Coalition for Liberated Ethnic Studies letter defending their liberatory approach to ethnic studies. Please, please, please get community input on the consultant to use and the right course to teach. Be transparent. We don't want civil rights complaints like Berkeley and Oakland Unified. We don't want controversy and chaos like MA and MVLA. Please pause now.
Okay, Shirley Chen and Star Teachout, who I believe are both on Zoom. Do we have Shirley?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you so much for offering me the time to speak. I am coming here today as the parent of a young special needs child and who is honestly considering a move to a private school. I would like to speak today in particular in support of the teachers in their request for increased compensation, and in particular, the increased annual stipend that is requested for our special education teachers, a compensation that has been proven to work in other districts across the country. We are only number 6 in the San Francisco Bay Area in compensation for our teachers, and we should be as proud to be number 1 in compensation as we are of any of our student performance metrics. It will cost us less long-term to retain good staff and pay them well than to offer lower compensation, causing more frequent turnover. And moreover, a stable staff supports our children's and the wider school community's morale. I don't know the name of the teacher who spoke earlier, but this was demonstrated so beautifully by her comment earlier. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to remind anybody, I think we only have one more open forum commenter, but comments on negotiations need to go on that agendized item. So Star Teachout.
Good evening. Although we're not perfect, I want to take this time to thank all the different teachers and administrations for our 23 years in the district, including preschool family and parents nursery school for offering such a fabulous, long-lasting community, to Barron Park Elementary for knowing what is important beyond our standardized test scores, to Terman and Fletcher Middle School for maintaining a joyful environment for our students, especially for things like PE, music, and art and theater. And to Gunn High School for challenging our students to develop academically, socially, and emotionally into healthy young adults. And finally, to the Mountain View Los Altos Middle College program, who met students where they were for the 30 years that they've been in our district and that our family appreciated. And they celebrated students on those alternate paths. They've probably rescued so many more students than they realize with their enthusiasm and their scholarship. So I just want to thank you all for this experience and continue to work together as much as possible with our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is our last open forum commenter. So now we will move on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar? Anyone?
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second? Okay. Do we have public comments? We do? Oh, look, I caught myself. Mr. Davis, you are our one public commenter, so you get 2 minutes.
Thank you. I did email this to you. It is item 5Q. For those of you who don't have the schedule memorized, this is on the recruitment and retention policy update. I would like to ask that the word disability be added to the proposed policy document. Specifically, the sentence would read, "The Board of Education is committed to employing suitable, qualified individuals to effectively carry out the district's vision, mission, and goals, and believes that students benefit when district staff reflects the racial, ethnic, linguistic, disability, and cultural diversity of the district. Disabled students should also see themselves reflected in the staff of the district." 20% of the US population is disabled. That's 54 million disabled Americans. This is about the same as our disabled student population if you include all students with IEPs, 504s, ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, and other disabilities that do not have formal educational accommodations. There is a 37% employment gap for disabled people nationally. The district should be a leader in employment equity. The district does not currently report on disability status of employees in their demographic report. There is no data to support that the district hires disabled food service or other workers, even though this is an emphasis of our district's future program. Please add the word disability to the policy change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay, any discussion? Colleagues? Student board member? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar? We did this already. Okay, now we can vote. Student board member preferential vote? All right, colleagues all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're moving on to action items. So here we go. We've got a lot of these. So 6A, yeah. Resolution number 2023-24 calling a general election to be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. I don't think we discussed this already, right? Can I get any public comments? Are there any public comments on this? No. Can I get a motion to approve?
Imagine if we didn't approve this. I move we approve calling a general election.
Second?
I'll second it. I do have one comment, but I'm pulling it up now.
That is impressive. All right. Discussion. Steve Brienza.
Well, I have to tell you, I haven't checked this afternoon if it was changed because, and I'm not sure it has to change, but wait, I'm trying to find it here. Oh my gosh. In one of the documents that I believe you as board president has to sign, I think it's the info sheet, and it has, our district and our address and everything else, and somewhere along the line, it says how much we're gonna pay, like you all remember when we ran, I think the district pays for half of it. But that isn't indicated on the form, and I'm just not sure. Specifies word limit for candidate statement and specified who pays for it. Those aren't filled out, so I'm just not sure if we approve this now, if we have to go back and determine that, or,
I think you have to look at the checklist where it's filled out. I think it's filled out on the other attachment.
So I think I'm looking at the checklist, but are you telling me there's wait.
So the information sheet, it's blank, but then the checklist is checked. And that information is filled in.
So should it not match? I guess, do you think it doesn't match it doesn't matter on the other one because the second one indicates?
Does anybody know why we also attached the blank information sheet?
Can I make a motion that we will
Make them match?
Vote on the first one being the indication being added to match with the second checklist, just to cross our T's and dot our I's.
It's a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
We just need to clarify for minutes.
Two versions. It's filled out.
In the first document, it doesn't have that filled out. In the second document, it does. So for some reason, it's in both documents, so I just figure it should be completed in both of them. It's the same information in the second document as in the second document. It's just in the first document, second page checklist. It says what percentages and how much what's the word limit. And
I think she's worried they're going to get separated at the clerk's office. And
yeah, I just don't know if they
we won't have called an election, and then we won't
have
an
election, or we won't. No one will know how much we're supposed to pay.
Yeah. Okay.
I can talk to you about it afterwards. If it is filled out and just not loading, then great, it's already filled out. And if it's not, we'll fill it out.
All right, student board member preferential vote? Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to item 6B, authorization to contract for 2024-25 with FS3 Hodges for program management services. Mr. Holm.
Good evening. So this is our annual program management contract that we do with FS3 Hodges. It has increased because we are doing so many planned maintenance and maintenance improvement projects. I will note that typically we work on about a third of the campuses every summer, and we're working on, we have a construction project on every single campus this summer, which is reflected in this added work that they're doing. So this is both overall program management, but a lot of the projects that happen sort of in the noise of construction that aren't massive projects, we cover under this scope of services. Later on the agenda, we have another similar scope for Coming Group, and we'll be bringing some in the future for our other construction managers. So which really just reflects all the added construction work we're doing right now. So this is an additional $1.1 million for capital improvement projects and just shy of $500,000 for planned maintenance, fire alarm, and HVAC projects for the next fiscal year.
All right, thank you. We have no public comments. Can I get a motion to approve so we can discuss? Anyone?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the table now. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. All right, student board member preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's still you. So now we'll move on to authorization to issue a request for proposals for leaseback contractors for green.
So I'm actually going to talk about this one and the next one combined. And
Perfect.
So this is both authorization to issue the leaseback and then also a addendum to the architect to divide the drawing set into a demo-only package, and then authorization to do a demo-only bid. And in assessing this, this project and a potential pathway forward, we feel that a leaseback contract might be the best and most successful way to move forward with the green project. Leaseback projects do tend to cost a little more because you have you're picking based on best value, not just the low bid, but it gives you a greater chance to negotiate with the contractor and really work out a lot of the nuances of a project. And we are doing a leaseback with the Hoover project because of the complexity of that project. We have done a leaseback in the past with the Peary Center. And with this one, the building is sort of comes into campus a lot. It's right in the middle of the quad where we're gonna put a building. So it's really impactful build. And as we're starting to see, we're trying to minimize the impacts to students during school. And one of those things is to really try to ramp up our coordination with the contractors as much as we can. So that's why we're thinking that the best pathway forward for this project will be to go with leaseback route. That also will not guarantee, but it gives us the best chance of a faster build when we actually start construction. And so then in the same vein of minimizing impacts, we would like to go ahead and start with just a demo-only package this summer to try to get as much of the loud, dusty, obtrusive demolition done while the kids are gone. And then the site would sit empty for a little bit as we're still hiring the leaseback contractor, because that's a little more drawn-out hiring process. But then at least that will get that sort of dirty, messy part of the start of construction out of the way.
All right, thank you. We don't have any public comments. So before we discuss, can I get a motion to approve so we can discuss?
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right, great. So is there any discussion?
I just want to say we've discussed at length in property committee, and I thank you for all the time that you spent on leaseback and explaining it to newer members. So based on our discussion there, it was helpful to understand the scope because we discussed this at length and feel good.
Good, yeah, and I just want to clarify for members of the community who might not understand, we usually proceed with a low bid situation. And when we do that, we are required by law, except under very, very strict circumstances that almost never happen, to accept the low bid. And so even if we know that that contractor is not someone who's necessarily going to be great for doing situations like this that have high impact on students, maybe they'll be difficult being as flexible. We have no choice but to proceed with them. And so I appreciate you thinking through what's best for students. And I think it sounds like a situation where it's probably worth spending a little more money to make sure our students' education isn't impacted. So thank you. All right, so let's proceed to a vote, shall we? Student board member, preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Wait, so that was for C. Now we're going to vote on D. Authorization to issue the addendum 17 to LPA Architects. This was bidding the demolition piece. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Student board member, preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on. 6E, proposal to open negotiations with California School Employees Association for the successor agreement to the 2021-2020 through 2024 collective bargaining agreement.
That would be my item, and this is the annual time of the year when we sunshine proposals with our association. This year we are CSCA Chapter 301, and the district have agreed to open 2 articles, compensation. It is on. Good. The first item is compensation and benefits, and the other one is term. So we have, both parties have agreed to open those 2 articles, and that comes before you tonight for approval.
I thought I saw, yes, I have 2 public comments. Stephen Davis and Meb Steiner. You each have 2 minutes.
As a parent, I support the district taking proactive action to improve the opportunities for long-term growth of our classified staff, particularly our special education aides. There is a huge cost, both financial and performance, for staff turn, lack of churn, lack of training, and limited career opportunities to stay in place doing the hard work of supporting our students. Palo Alto Unified School District should also allow classified staff to be paid for their leave at the end of their time with Palo Alto Unified School District to reduce absenteeism on the job and provide a longer paid workday and adequate coverage for collaboration with teachers, breaks, lunch, and leave so our classrooms are not perpetually understaffed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Steiner.
So good evening, Meb Steiner, president of Chapter 301. I just want to basically say I look forward to negotiating with the district team. We just wrapped up this year. Well, that's the next item. Our main focus really in opening compensation and benefits and term, this is, so the community understands, this is what's called a successor agreement, which is a 3-year contract. So we try to have a 3-year contract to have stability, and then within each of those successor agreements, we open things each year. So we will be ratifying the last year of the last successor, and now we are opening the first year of the next successor. So we're looking for term for another 3-year term, and then focusing on compensation and benefits. We had a lot of discussion with the district, some very good conversations. We want to continue highlighting our work on creating equity within our unit because we have such a wide range of staff, part-time, 10-month to 12-month, full-time. Salary ranges are all over the place. And also in relation to other folks who work within our school district. We've often gotten the same pay, and that has the compound interest effect for a low-paying job versus a higher one. Healthcare premiums have gone up a lot. Want to try to look at some creative ideas there. Prorated healthcare premiums hit lower income and part-time people very, very hard and basically reduce that compensation package. And then lastly, we want to have some opportunities for steps to grow beyond Level E. So those were the three main focuses. We look forward to talking quickly and hopefully getting somewhere quickly and being back here very soon. That is the goal.
Thank you, Meb. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the recommendations?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All right, any discussion? No? Okay. Student board member, preferential vote? Colleagues?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, and I'm aye too. Okay. All right, moving on. Tentative agreements with Palo Alto Educators Association. No, sorry. I have to start bringing my reading glasses. Tentative agreements with California School Employees Association.
As Ms. Steiner just mentioned, that we did recently complete the negotiations with tentative agreements, and what is here before you tonight is seeking your approval on the tentative agreements.
And we have one public comment. Ms. Steiner, you should have just stayed up here. All right, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm back. I hopefully don't need 2 minutes. One, I just want to say thank you. This has been a long negotiations year. I think in the 15 years I've been on negotiation team, one other year we rolled into spring. But I think there were also some very important discussions that were had. And so I just want to say thank you to the district team, to the board as well, because ultimately we are negotiating with you through your designees. We are pleased to offer the 4% on for the compensation piece and the lump sum payment for our staff. It goes a long way, especially for lower wage workers. It's a bigger percentage, so to speak, but it's a nice chunk of money for everybody. And we also had some good work on a lot of the articles and the language in there. We have a long-standing contract that works pretty well, but I think there's always some good tweaks we can do to it. And we spent good amount of time on hours and discipline and safety as well. So thank you to everyone. It was a long one, but some roads are long, some are sprints. So thank you to everyone, and we look forward to continuing to partner and collaborate and support our students. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the negotiations team on our side as well, who spent a lot of time, several new members. And I also just want to say thank you to all of our classified staff. It's incredible work that they do. So many things would just not happen in our district without them, and including programs like special ed or just the welcome at the front office when you walk into your school. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So now can we have a motion?
We already did a motion for this one, didn't we? Did we not? Okay, I move.
Or maybe we did.
Just in case we didn't, let's move.
A second? Okay, any discussion?
I just want to confirm, so we're not double motioning.
So we're not double motioning?
Yeah.
We didn't do that one? Okay. I just have a quick comment. I just want to say to Ms. Steiner that you have long pointed out that for the lower wage workers, one lump sum payment is very meaningful and makes a difference. And I think we were really happy that that's where that landed, keeping that in mind. So thank you for educating us on that and keeping that front and center all the time.
All right, let's see, student board reps, preferential vote? Okay, colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, now we are moving on to tentative agreement with Palo Alto Educators Association.
Yeah, this is the tentative agreement with our Palo Alto Educators Association. This is a 2-year agreement for 23-24 and 24-25. In the as presented, it includes multiple articles in addition to compensation and benefits. There are several other articles that we have TA'd on And tonight before you is seeking approval of these tentative agreements.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 public comments, Stephen Davis and Terry Baldwin.
It is disheartening to see a lack of action taken by the Palo Alto Unified School District to address the churn and morale problems for our special education teachers. Other school districts have added a stipend for their special educators, and these stipends have worked. You can see articles from both NPR and Mother Jones. Better, happier teachers will lead to fewer settlements, and our current $1.65 million in settlements would be much better spent on thriving teachers. Palo Alto Unified School District should consider a stipend both for being certified for special education as well as actively teaching in special education classes. All of our classes have disabled students, so all teachers would be able to better teach them with more training. A possible annual stipend model could be being certified for mild mod, or whatever they're calling it now, $2,000 a year, certified to teach mod severe, or extensive needs, or whatever it is, $3,000 a year, and actively teaching in special education, $5,000 a year cumulative. Please do look at the information on the success that Hawaii had with addressing these issues, as well as Detroit and Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you, Terry Baldwin, President of the Palo Alto Educators Association. This was a long run with the negotiations. We have definitely members who are not happy with our settlement, but I will say we also had record numbers vote in this ratification vote, and even though some weren't happy, they did support this, so this passed with about 91.6% of the vote. We are happy with some special ed language that we got. We really are thrilled that we're getting some caseload language and a case management period for our co-teaching special ed teachers. I had been hearing that from special ed teachers that the district has said that a special education stipend was often offered, but PAEA turned it down. There was talk about a special ed stipend for incoming new special ed teachers, and we wanted a stipend for all of our current special ed teachers. We did put that on our Appendix H multiple times, and it was struck out multiple times. There's no stipend offered from the district side. So I just wanted to clear that up because it seemed to be getting out there that we turned down a stipend for our teachers, and we didn't. And then, so we are glad that this ratified. We had our climate survey back in February, just hadn't gotten out to you. I did send it to you today. Our morale is still pretty low. 2 years ago, it was at 50% were low to very low morale, and this time we have 54.7% said their morale is low or very low. 33% said it was neutral. Only 10.9% and 1% said high, 10.9% said high, 1% said very high. So there's still some work, and this was before impasse and all of those things, so it wasn't attributed to that. But we still need to work on some things, and I do think in negotiations, working on our working conditions and continuing to advocate for special education and classroom behavior and different things like that, we can hopefully build that morale back up. So
thank you, Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve so we can discuss?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. We're going to do this a little different tonight. I'm going to speak tonight and then hand off to Ms. DiBrienza, who I know also wants to speak. And then we'll go to our student board reps and any other board members who might have something they want to say. So a few weeks ago, I spoke with a parent who is very frustrated with what he sees as a misleading public narrative around PAUSD's financial investment in teachers. And he asked me to try and correct it tonight because he's concerned about the potential negative impact on our district. And I share his concern, and I've heard it from many other parents and students, so I don't want to dismiss it. I also know it's kind of impossible to put a genie back in a bottle once a story is out there, but I do believe I have a responsibility to try. Because my job as a trustee of this district is to safeguard the district for the benefit of our students, current and future. And if community members start to worry that they can't trust us to use their money responsibly, why would they give us more of it? Why would they vote to pass a parcel tax or a bond or donate to PI? So the first thing I want to say tonight is I agree completely with everyone who spoke and emailed passionately about how our budget is a reflection of our priorities. It absolutely is, which is why it was so troubling to hear over and over again in the past month from teachers and community members concerned that PAUSD's investment in teachers as a percentage of overall budget has decreased from 40 to 35%, while administrative costs have increased. This is simply not true. The 35% seems to have come from our 2023-24 interim budget, but negotiations were not settled in time for the interim budget. So it does not include ongoing compensation increases or one-time off-schedule payments. And therefore, salary expenditures are artificially low. And the fact that they're artificially low is exactly why we are required by law to submit the form that's in item 6P of our agenda tonight and disclose, as the form states, the cumulative costs of salary and benefit increases that would be incurred above the most current board-approved budget, which is our second interim. According to School Services of California, in 2022-23, which is the most recent year where final budget numbers are available, PAUSD actually spent 37.76% on non-management certificated employees, which is teachers. This makes us number one in our comparable group of school districts. We are also number one in the ratio of students to non-management certificated staff, which means we have more teachers per student working in PAUSD than any other district. Our administrative costs, on the other hand, are 5.25%, which makes us just fourth in the same comparable group. Now, there's a month left in the current fiscal year, so we can't know for sure what the final percentage for non-management certificated salaries will be for this year. But given that the ongoing compensation increase is higher this year than it was last year, I assume that the percentage spent on teachers will increase as well from last year, not decrease. You know, when people asked me in person why PAUSD was decreasing our investment in teachers and stockpiling money in reserves, I would first correct the data, and I would provide details about what the reserves are earmarked for. And then I would ask why. Why would we intentionally decrease our investment in teachers? If we truly believed we could responsibly afford to pay them more, what would possibly be the reason for not doing so? This isn't the private sector. Money can't be used to enrich owners or shareholders. I honestly could not and still cannot think of any logical reason why we would make this decision. My concern, however, is that there are some teachers and community members who might believe there is an illogical or an irresponsible or even an underhanded reason. Inaccurate public statements about Dr. Austin's contract, which were made at last month's board meeting and in the flyer distributed by PAEA at school sites, only increased my concern. So I want to quickly correct them. First, Dr. Austin is not the highest paid superintendent in the county. To take just one example, the new superintendent of Fremont Union High School District, which has just 5 schools as opposed to PAUSD's 19, is paid more. Next, Dr. Austin also doesn't have a car allowance or $100,000 more in his contract. The flyer distributed at school sites was inaccurate. Prior PAUSD superintendents had car allowances, and perhaps they had $100,000 more as well, but Dr. Austin does not. He does have benefits, and they are virtually identical to those of veteran PAUSD teachers. Perhaps benefits is what the flyer refers to. I don't know. But the vagueness implies something suspicious, which concerns me. Like other public school superintendents, Dr. Austin's salary is public, and so is his contract. Any facts about them are easily verifiable. So honestly, it kind of seems like a waste of everyone's time for me to correct them from up here tonight. But I'm doing so because the inaccurate statements were made so publicly and used along with the 35% number and claims about reserves to support a broader narrative questioning both PAUSD's budget priorities and motivations. I'm concerned they have contributed to eroding the community's trust in our district. The trust of our community is our most valuable asset. We must not take it for granted or treat it recklessly because we depend on it. And by we, I mean all of us, the adults who work here, and above all, our students. Because if people stop trusting our school district, they will stop supporting it. I'm gonna pass the baton to Ms. DiBrienza now, who also has some comments.
Thank you, Ms. Ledermerck. As Ms. Ledermerck stated, we are in agreement on the things that she said, and we are in agreement on the things that I'm going to say. And it all stems from the fact that we worry about any trust that the community or that our teachers might have in us, because that impacts students, that impacts morale, that impacts the experience of everyone. It impacts the future strength of the district. I'll just mention a few other concerns. We shared the concern about the low starting salaries in our district. We heard from a lot of teachers pointing out that fact as that number was low. We agree, and in negotiations, we were pushing for a higher starting salary. That was important to all of us, I think. We weren't trying to keep them low. But more significantly, other salaries. When Ms. Ledermerck shared about this one particular parent whose concern for the lack of trust in the community, right? That he mentioned that the contract with our negotiated unions don't just include salaries, but also class size and benefits. We have a fixed budget, and we decide in concert with our bargaining units how to spend those dollars. If we spend more on salaries, class sizes go up and benefits go down. If we spend more on keeping class sizes smaller, salaries cannot go up as much. We feel really strongly that this has to be a part of the conversation. And here's why. If PAUSD had Santa Clara Unified's exact contract, the one that we were repeatedly told has the highest salaries, we would immediately release 110 of our certificated teachers, 110 of our 790. We would dismiss if we mapped their exact. That is a huge loss to our community. That is a huge loss to our district. Every one of those teachers is valued, and every one of those teachers contributes to what makes this district so great. We don't want to lose them, but it's all a question of priorities. And if we are told by the community, by our bargaining units, by the community, by families, by our district, that the most important thing is highest salaries, we can accomplish that, but we can only accomplish that by raising class sizes and reducing other benefits, like stipends, like release periods, things that cost money. We know that parents and students appreciate those lower class sizes, but our teachers certainly do as well. Just in this contract that is in front of us tonight, there are further class size reductions at the request of our bargaining unit. That's great. We're happy to oblige, but that costs money. And it's clearly the biggest thing that sets our district apart from those of Santa Clara Unified. Even with the new contract, PAUSD does not have the highest salaries. We're near the top. We're nearer than we were before this deal, but we're not at the very top. But it isn't because we're doing something suspicious with the money or because we don't respect teachers. It's because we have the budget that we have, and together we agree on priorities: benefits, class sizes, salaries. Each one impacts the other. I would imagine that most employees everywhere, no matter where they work, want to make more money, and I fully expect our bargaining units to negotiate vigorously on behalf of their membership. That's their role, and we're happy for that. As their employer, it's extremely important to us that teachers fully understand the entirety of their contract, including what is different about employment here than in other school districts. So they have the information they need to make the decision that's right for themselves and their families. On that note, I believe that a lesson of this experience is that PAUSD should make the contract information, including relevant comparisons to other districts, more easily accessible on our website year-round. My understanding is that staff plans to do this, as well as provide a detailed breakdown of financial reserves with the goal of better educating everyone and informing the public. I support both of these updates, and we look forward to them happening soon. I also think it's important because so many people in our community have approached me with this inaccurate information. One, the 35%, well, it's actually probably close to 38%, the question about Dr. Austin's salary being the highest, which it's not, and concerns about our low starting salaries, which we were advocating to change, leaves community members doubting our commitment to teachers and to the welfare of the district, given our educators are our most valuable resource. We agree that is true, and I believe that our proposals reflected that, and our settlement reflects that. What may be most concerning is the low morale that the teachers are feeling. PAEA just shared the survey results today about how the trust in the district administration is low. I'm not surprised that it's low. Teaching is a very hard job. It has always been a hard job, and it has only gotten harder in recent years. Since COVID, and now in the most recent years, since we've been back. Our teachers are heroic in the work they do every day. When a group of people is working extremely hard and believes that we are decreasing our investment in them and that we have the money to pay them more, but we just refuse to do so, and that the leader of the organization is paid higher than any other, of course they're going to feel this way. How could they not? They are doing hard work. If they think we don't have their back and we're not doing the best by them, yeah, morale's gonna be pretty low. There are times we make decisions from up here or in there that some of our staff disagrees with. That's hard. Teachers aren't a monolith, opinions vary, pedagogical approaches differ. This is true at any organization. And we haven't always been perfect. We have made hard decisions that will always upset some people, but we do need to be starting with the same facts. And facts around new grading practices or new reading curricula, or if we add a particular math class, seem to be accurate. We're all having conversations about the same facts and just coming to different conclusions, and that's okay. That seems to be a worthwhile debate having. But we need to be fighting the same, we need to be talking about the same facts. We heard from a lot of upset teachers when they explained they were upset, but they came in with some inaccuracies. I'd be upset too if that were the reality. We're raising it today because we care about the long-term health of the district, its students and its staff. After the challenging negotiations we just came through, we can not let misplaced distrust in our finances, our position, or our reasoning go unanswered. We can disagree and people can be mad about it, but we can't have people mad about things that just aren't true. I want to conclude by saying that while I have decided to vote yes, I remain a little bit uncomfortable with the settlement we have reached. Not because I think we can't afford 4% in the first year and another 4% in the second year, plus another 2% in other changes, but because I'm worried we can't afford all those increases while also maintaining our current class sizes and benefits. Ms. Latimerek feels the same way, and she's been a CFO for almost her entire professional life. When we look at the 5-year projections for PAUSD, we see a lot of red in the out years. Ultimately, we are supporting this deal because Superintendent Austin lobbied hard. He didn't use emotion, he used numbers. He convinced us this was a calculated risk worth taking. Ms. Latimerek and I have just a few more months on the board. We pushed back hard on Dr. Austin, and he pushed back hard on us. Mr. Durat and Ms. Siegel are going to be here with 3 new board members pretty soon. We suggest that before the next time we go through negotiations, each of our parties have some conversations about what their priorities are, and we check in with those bodies about what their priorities are, so we can focus on those And if it's salary above all else, let's focus on that. And if it's working conditions above all else, and if it's some combination, let's find the medium. But Ms. Lettermerick and I won't be here, so it'll be on you guys and probably some people that are in the audience now. And we appreciate Dr. Austin's advocacy for this and hope that his calculated risk is right and that this will wind up okay in the end. We will be watching on Zoom. So I'm going to be voting yes, and I look forward to see what happens next.
We clarified tonight because we couldn't clarify last meeting and we couldn't clarify the flyer at the school sites. So we did our best to just speak in our job in the position where we're able to speak. You're welcome to email stuff to us. Yes, and we were and we were clarifying that those statements were inaccurate and they went out. We received hundreds of emails from people with the inaccurate information. We in no way.
Let's not go back and forth right now. I think it's important that for people that didn't get your correction email, we want people to know that that was incorrect information. And I think it's very important that the community understand that.
So now, do you guys want to say something?
Just because at the beginning of the meeting, Chris and Carthy spoke about what brought you here to the board. And I didn't expect myself to end up on the board. This wasn't a long-term plan of mine, but it was the 21-22 PAEA climate survey. That was one of the primary reasons that I ran for school board. And today is when we got the new survey data, and I was very concerned to see that morale over 50%, it's still low or very low morale. So that continues to concern me. And I would be interested in asking PAEA to ask their membership, what are some concrete actions that would help raise morale? Because it has not gone up. And so I just want to say, acknowledge it. We just got it today. It's one of the primary reasons that I am here. And so I thank you for sharing that. And I hope we can hear some concrete actions that would help to raise morale.
We will have a new board next year. So I'm looking forward to working with Ms. Siegel and our 3 new board members and perhaps our association president who's leaving. Well, I guess there's nothing else to say then. All right.
Anybody else? Student board reps?
So in the question of benefits versus class sizes versus salary, this is ultimately a trade-off that's going to impact the teachers, right? Whether we have higher class size, if we have to, the rationale that's being offered to the community is that if we raise salaries too high, then we have to increase class sizes, cut benefits, whatever else in order to balance the budget, just to make sure I'm understanding that. My question is, isn't that, if that's ultimately a trade-off that's going to be impacting the teachers, what is it, why do we not allow the teachers to decide what they're prioritizing as opposed to just responding as to what the board or the superintendent believes should be prioritized?
That's literally what negotiations is. They come in with their priorities.
I understand that. I'm
Both
saying
sides.
after extended back and forth, if I'm confused as to what is being negotiated against if the idea is that we're all acting in the best interest of the teachers here. I'm confused as to what's
the amount of money we have.
Yeah, our budget is the limiting factor. We can't do all the things.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, but that's an important point. There's not one bucket of money for salaries and one for extra teachers for lower class sizes, and there's one bucket of money. And how you divide that up is literally what happens in negotiations. Should we vote? Did we have a motion? We did a motion, right? So we could discuss? All right. Student board members, preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, I think we need to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back because I have 87,000 things to read out now. Do I have to gavel out? Do we have to gavel out? We'll be back at 8:10.
What happened? Just start. This is the best flavor sparkling wine. Michelle, peach nectarine, this brand specifically tastes like those peach ring candies. It's not sweet. Anyway. He's there.
Wait, is this on? Oh, yeah, it is, okay. Okay, moving on. 2023-24 salary schedule for non-represented group supervisory confidential personnel. And I think this is me, right? You?
This is me. There's no readout for you on this. This is basically the salary schedule is what you're approving for this item. The salary schedule and increase for this, and so it's as presented for the board to take action.
All right. We do not have any public comments, so can I get a motion?
So moved.
Oh,
We can put it on the
oh
table.
my God.
We can.
Literally
Someone can
just
second it.
appeared. No, she's right, we have a comment. Kelly Zalatimo.
Red for Ed. I don't know what red for Ed means.
Like magic.
You have 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to ask or remind everyone of a promise that was made in 2019 to have an organization chart. I haven't forgotten, and I'd love to see an org chart with people's new titles, because there's been a lot of shuffling of titles and positions, and having that org chart would help people to know whether it's myth or not, you know, that we have a big district office. That's the perception. So having an org chart would be great for us to see what our district office really looks like. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now can I get a motion to approve? Anyone? Anyone?
So moved. Oh, same.
Second.
Ms.
You guys
Siegel?
second it.
Ms. Siegel moved. I'll second.
Okay.
He'll second. All right, any discussion? All right, student board member preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to Palo Alto Management Association Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, this is the approval for the compensation and salary increases for PAMA, Palo Alto Management Association.
Do I need to read the recommendation? Are we okay? All right.
As presented.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? No comments? Colleagues?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
sorry, student board members, preferential vote. Okay, colleagues now, vote again.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, where am I? I'm on J now? Okay, now this is me.
Yes.
Okay,
So this item is, as you know, Ms. Chow will be leaving the district and retiring at the end of this school year, and we are fortunate that we have a replacement, Ms. Sharon Yu, and part of that process for putting her into that position is a contract, and before you tonight is the approval of her contract and the terms which you have to read out.
I will read out right now and then we'll do a motion, okay? Okay, pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of compensation to be provided to the Chief Business Officer and Ms. Sharon Yu. by way of the pending employment contract with the district. Chief Business Officer, the term of the contract will be July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Ms. Yu will receive an annual base salary of $286,355 for the 2024-2025 school year, which is step 1 of the contracted management salary schedule. For the 2025-26 school year and 2026-27 school year, if Ms. Yu receives a satisfactory evaluation, her salary will increase pursuant to the consecutive step on the contracted management salary schedule, effective July 1st, 2024. Ms. Yu shall receive district-paid health, dental, vision, and other fringe benefits in the same manner and subject to the same limitations as other contracted management personnel. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, student board member preferential vote.
I've got a comment.
You have a comment?
He has a comment.
Oh, yes.
I just
Discussion.
wanted to say that Ms. Chow, among her many qualities serving as a CBO while I've been on this board, is unflappable. And there's never been a time that I felt she didn't have an answer to a question, or that the information I was getting was in any way incorrect, or, you know, the work and the advice has been unimpeachable. And it's sort of the exact kind of person you want as the CBO, because they are handling our money and making sure our budget is rock solid. So I'm very encouraged by Ms. Yu rolling into the position, and I know that she's been working very closely with Ms. Chow and has some of those exact same qualities. So I'm looking forward to that transition. And thank you, Ms. Chow, for all of your service.
Can I say ditto?
All right, now, student board member preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to item L, Associate Superintendent of Ed Services
I think you
Employment.
skipped K.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
wishful
think,
thinking.
I don't think Mr. Moore will be happy, but
Sorry.
I got your back, Derek.
Sorry, Derek.
Okay.
Chief Technology Officer.
Technology Officer. Mr. Moore is the longest sitting executive cabinet member of our team, and staff is recommending to change his status to put him on a contract of the contracted management schedule. What is before you tonight is the approval of his contract, and you have a readout.
I have a readout. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of compensation to be provided to the Chief Technology Officer and Mr. Derek Moore by way of the pending employment contract with the district. Chief Technology Officer, the term of the contract will be July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Mr. Moore will receive an annual base salary of $253,654 for the 2024-2025 school year, which is step 2 of the contracted management salary schedule. For the 2025-2026 school year and 2026-2027 school year, if Mr. Moore receives a satisfactory evaluation, his salary will increase pursuant to the consecutive step on the executive salary schedule effective July 1st, 2024. Mr. Moore shall receive district-paid health, dental, vision, and other fringe benefits in the same manner and subject to the same limitations as other contracted management personnel. We have no public comments. Okay, so we made a motion? No, we need a motion.
So moved.
What are you moving? Are you moving to accept the recommendation as presented? Okay. We have a second.
So moved means.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay. Student board members preferential vote? Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Now are we on
Now we're on
Associate
item
Superintendent of
L.
Ed Services?
This is for the Associate Superintendent of Educational Services employment agreement with Dr. Guillermo Lopez. Staff is recommending that he have a new contract as the Associate Superintendent which is a shift from his current position, and that is what is before you tonight.
Okay. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of compensation to be provided to the Associate Superintendent, Educational Services, and Dr. Guillermo Lopez by way of the pending employment contract with the district. Associate Superintendent, Educational Services. The term of the contract will be July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Dr. Lopez will receive an annual base salary of $277,171 for the 2024-2025 school year, which is step 3 of the contracted management salary schedule. For the 2025-2026 school year and 2026-2027 school year, if Dr. Lopez receives a satisfactory evaluation, his salary will increase the consecutive step on the contracted management salary schedule, effective July 1st, 2024. Dr. Lopez shall receive district-paid health, dental, vision, and other fringe benefits in the same manner and subject to the same limitations as other contracted management personnel. Can I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
I move we approve
Can I have
the item as presented.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Student Board Member preferential vote? Aye. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Oh, this is a long one.
This is the item M, the Executive Cabinet Contract Amendments. These are for the other 3 members of Executive Cabinet, Ms. Conaway, Dr. Cho, and myself. And the recommendation is to the board is an amendment to each of their contracts, and you have a readout for that.
Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of compensation to be provided to the following contracted management employees by way of their pending amendments to their employment contracts with the district. Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Bahadar Singh is currently employed as the district's Deputy Superintendent by contract from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. It is proposed that Mr. Bahadar Singh's contract be amended to extend the term of the contract to June 30th, 2028, effective July 1st, 2024. There are 8 steps to the contracted management salary schedule. Mr. Bahadar Singh's salary placement on July 1st, 2024 will be step 7, which is the next consecutive step on the schedule. Assistant Superintendent of Equity and Student Affairs. Ms. Conway is currently employed as the district's Assistant Superintendent of Equity and Student Affairs by contract from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. It is proposed that Ms. Conway's contract be amended to extend the term of the contract to June 30th, 2027, effective July 1st, 2024. There are 8 consecutive steps to the contracted management salary schedule. Ms. Conaway's salary placement on July 1st, 2027 will be step 7, which is the next consecutive step on the schedule. Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Agile Team. Dr. Che is currently employed as the district's Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Agility by contract from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. It is proposed that Dr. Che's contract be amended to extend the term of the contract to June 30th, 2027, effective July 1st, 2024. There are 8 steps to the contracted management salary schedule. Dr. Che's salary placement on July 1st, 2024 will be step 2, which is the next consecutive step on the schedule. Can I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
I move we approve the item as presented.
Can I have a
Is that
second?
allowed?
I'll second.
Student Board Members preferential vote? Aye. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, the next item is item N, the Superintendent Employment Agreement, the 5th Amendment, and it is recommended that the board approve this item as presented, and you have a readout.
Okay. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of compensation to be provided to the superintendent, Dr. Don Austin, by way of the pending amendment to his employment contract with the district. Dr. Austin is currently employed as the district superintendent by contract from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. It is proposed that Dr. Austin's contract be amended to extend the term of the contract to June 30th, 2028, effective July 1st, 2024. There are 8 steps to the contracted management salary schedule. Dr. Austin's salary placement on July 1st, 2024 will be step 7, which is the next consecutive step on the schedule. The fringe benefits amendment includes conditional health benefits until the age of 65. Can I get a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
I move that we approve the recommendation as presented.
Second?
Second.
Student board reps preferential vote? Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I
Okay,
think
the
that's
next
all my
item,
reading.
You have no more readouts.
No more readouts.
The next item is the compensation salary structure for contracted management positions for 2023, 24, and 24, 25. And that is before you for approval this evening.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
So moved.
So can I have a second?
What?
Student board reps preferential vote? Oh, wait, did you want to say something? Discussion? No. Student board reps preferential vote. Okay. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, moving on to, who's this? Me? Okay.
Okay, this next item follows the ones that preceded it, in that the AB 1200 form is a required submission whenever a negotiated agreement has been reached through the collective bargaining process. And what it basically says is that the certifies that the district can meet the financial obligations that were reached through the collective bargaining process. And there are two that are included in this item. One is for PAEA and for PAMA, and the second is for CSEA.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
You're making it easier for us.
Student board reps preferential vote. Colleagues, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are moving on now to discussion items. The PAUSD promise for 24-25.
Before I turn this over to Dr. Che, and I believe Ms. Conaway is going to have a piece of this also. Just a reminder that the PAUSD promise and the principles around it are just not common, and that the focus of the district is why we're getting the results that we're getting. Since its inception, 80% of the main topic priority goals remain unchanged. Not the inputs and the revisions to the outcomes, but the big topics have remained unchanged, and that's what great organizations do. So very excited about the evolution of this work, and you're going to see tonight record feedback. Still an area I'd like to get more, but it is what it is. But that continues to grow and evolve with us as well. And I'd really like to thank Dr. Che for her organizing work on this. She really does a fantastic job of reaching out and then summarizing, encapsulating what people are excited about, and then an entire district team, not just a district office team, an entire district team that is really doing a very good job with implementation. So excited about this. So Dr. Che, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. The PAUSD promise is our strategic plan adopted since 2019. Our mid-year report was presented to the Board of Education in December, followed by the annual report in March. Since then, we reflected on the results to develop key performance indicators, KPI, and strategies for next year. As part of the process, we collected diverse stakeholder feedback through surveys, which were distributed through principal letters, district-wide communication, as well as Schoology for students. This year, we received 375 survey responses, which is more than 200 since last year. 61% responses were from parents, 20% from students, 17% from employee, and the rest were from community members. Divisions working on specific KPIs and strategies provided additional input during refinement stages of the goal development in alignment with SWIFT, LCAP, and CSA's plan. The 5 priority areas will remain the same for next year, and the test report has details. To highlight a few, KPIs under innovation include launching new elementary progress report, increasing the number of secondary students earning industry certifications, and increasing AI literacy for students and teachers. We are shifting early literacy to broaden the focus area to include secondary students in addition to elementary students. Serve and celebrate other goals will continue to focus on building a strong community through positive interaction and service projects. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Conaway to go over equity and excellence and mental health portion of the highlights.
Thank you, Dr. Che. So as you know, at the heart of our promise is a dual commitment to both equity and excellence. And while the promise embeds this throughout every single area in our promise, we also understand and recognize how important it is to be explicit about our focus on equity in those areas where we have not necessarily done as well as we know we can. So in the equity and excellence area, the initiatives and actions are outlined to reach specific goals, and those goals are around ensuring that students have a positive school climate, ensuring that there's high quality, inclusive, culturally responsive instruction, and also making sure that we have interventions and supports available for students when they do struggle. And finally, critical to our work is to ensure a very strong partnership with our families and with our community as we move forward in both our actions and in our attitudes and beliefs. So I will leave that section here because we have another section where we really delve into the SWIFT plan a little bit. But moving on to the last area, and definitely not our least area, because we continue to prioritize mental health for both our students and our staff. And in that particular area, we are still focused on building awareness around mental health, reducing stigma associated with seeking help related to mental health, and a stronger focus on academic stress and what that means for our students and some particular strategies that we can identify to support that. So we're looking closely at our data and still seeing some areas of need. So some of our strategies are really designed to get to the bottom of opportunities to reduce that stress in our students. So with that, I'd like to close this brief summary and turn it back over to Dr. Che.
Thank you. So we're excited to start thinking about next year and really get to implement these goals.
All right, that was efficient. We have 2 comments, one in person, one on Zoom. So Mr. Davis and then Star Teach Out on Zoom.
This is talking to the detailed report, the key performance indicators. It is impressive to see the scope and detail in the goals that are listed, but I am concerned in many of the important equity areas, particularly there are no specifics or indicators of our ambition. How much are we trying to close the gap between our target groups and their peers? Are we going to be ambitious and close the gap by 50% in 3 years, or inch along at 5% more, or just try to do better? Ambitious goals lead to meaningful change. How about ending elementary suspensions? Cutting chronic absenteeism in half? Let's shoot high and do the work to make real change, not just stack vague PowerPoint bullets. Thank you.
Thank you. Star Teach Out on Zoom.
Thank you. I want to remind ourselves that our primary function is as an academic institution. And I feel that this permeates so many aspects of the promise and the goals contained therein, including mental health. I don't have time to belabor it, but I want to call your attention to an April 12th, 2024 article in the Chronicle of Higher Education, which should impact our education goals, especially for promise goals related to our middle and high school students who are especially underachieving. Teaching students how to be students was the article, and it identified the key components which many incoming first-year college students are lacking, and this must contribute to the dropout rate, which is currently about 33%, if not higher. Those items are regular attendance, alert and engagement in class, completing homework, resisting digital distractions, taking care of their health, and seeking help when needed. If this sounds like a criticism of some aspects of standards-based grading, it is. We don't need to abandon standards-based grading, but we do need to rethink some of the practices which suggest poor attendance, submitting late work, offering unlimited retakes, and even no participation don't matter. I do believe for some courses, some parts of SBG is contributing to the poor teacher morale. So please take a look at standards-based grading and the goals of it, and have some really deep conversations with our teachers to see how we can compromise and support our underachieving students. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for public comments. Colleagues, as well as the student board reps, you guys have any comments?
I actually want to echo some of Ms. Tijout's concerns about our implementation of evidence and standards-based grading right now in our core classes specifically. I agree with the general idea that we should be promoting the overall mastery of skills across students. But you also need to look at what that actually looks like when we're throwing it around as a buzzword with not much clarification, really. And here's what that looks like to students. I am right now actually working through this evidence-based project in my English class, where we are asked to fill out grade conferencing forms, where we are asked to prove what grade we achieved. In fact, I will be submitting that tomorrow. And in my experience with that, and I think this is shared by quite a few of my classmates, that evidence-based grading in its current form, where we look at a general idea of skills, really leaves students in the dark about what we're supposed to be doing. Because when I look at my Schoology report on how I'm doing in my AP Lang class, I could not tell you. I could not tell you whether I'm doing well, what I need to improve on, because when you have an evidence-based grading system that is solely designed around implementing evidence-based grading for the sake of it and not for actually allowing students to meet those skills, what ends up happening is you create a black box where students really don't know what it means to learn or develop those skills. And it's really arbitrary. So when we're making these goals about expanding evidence-based grading, standards-based grading, any of these terms, there needs to be a focus on making sure students actually are able to know what's going on. Because as much as we talk about skills, for students who are trying to prove that they met those skills, how am I supposed to write a paragraph saying, I deserve an A or a B in this class, when my Schoology report doesn't show me how I'm doing? It's this commitment to standards-based or evidence-based grading for the sake of it that I think is pretty detrimental, as opposed to just focusing on building a model that provides a more comprehensive view of students' progress.
Anybody else?
I think every time that the promise comes up at these meetings, I'm reminded that I don't know how many students actually know what the promise is, and if they do, I doubt that they could list out the priority areas. And I guess, I don't know, like we always say, yes, we care about student voice, we care about students being the forefront of the change that we implement. And I think it's really important that they understand what everyone here is trying to do with the promise. And so, like, I'll tell this to my successor, Yunseo, as well. But I think it would be good if, I don't know, Dr. Che or someone else familiar with the promise could come and talk with ASB at Pali and SEC at Gunn to just delve into the promise a little bit. It doesn't need to be like a formal presentation or anything, but looking at these areas, equity and excellence, innovation, mental health and wellness, serve and celebrate others, those especially are ones that our associated student bodies can do so much on in terms of the events that we put on, and having that heightened focus, I think, could lead to the promise being more meaningful and impactful for students. Yeah.
I just want to pull back for a second and remind folks that, you know, the promise is a relatively new development in the history of the district. Really since I've been on the board, since Dr. Austin has been on the board, it's the way that we've created a master plan for the district. But by its nature, it's necessarily partially aspirational because it's a goal-setting document set at the highest level in the district. So that's really good in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it creates confusion because when we talk about the promise, there's a disconnect between, you know, what the promise says and folks' experience on the day-to-day in classrooms and in schools. So, this happens in every layer of the promise because that's just the way that guidance documents work at a high level. But to draw down on for example, the standards-based grading question, you know, this is an example of how implementation matters a lot. And that implementation happens by teachers. It happens at the site level. And so really our role going towards that level has more to do with setting, you know, as a board, we just set the direction. And then staff makes sure that we're putting the frameworks in place, like professional development and training. So then the teachers at the site level can do exactly what you're concerned about in terms of how is this working and how is this affecting me day to day. So I just want to pull back for a second and remind folks that this isn't, you know, this is a partially aspirational document, and that's by design. And it has borne out sort of really good fruit for us over the last several years because there is that separation that allows us to set the goals and then allows the district to run with it and actually implement those all the way through. So.
Yeah, and I want to follow up on that. I think this is exactly right. And when you think about how many classrooms we have in this district, right, you need to set a vision up here. And it takes a long time for the vision to get implemented in every classroom across the district. And so what happens, unfortunately, in the career of a high school student, right, is you come in and we may be in year one, which evidence-based grading in particular has been floating around a lot, but I think we're if not year one, then maybe year two of sort of really full court press on like, no, this is what we're doing. That's going to take longer than your career in high school for that to really be felt in all the classrooms. So I think, you know, as a board, our job is, we said, to sort of, and I will say, and Chris just walked out of the room, but one of the major sources of stress that we have heard from students over and over and over again is around grading and inconsistent grading and grading being different from class to class. That is exactly the problem evidence-based grading is trying to solve. But it is very hard in the middle of an implementation of something, for students to actually see that what they are saying to us is being responded to. It just is happening it's a longer horizon than we would like it to be. So the student feedback around grading is something that we're constantly working on as a district, and there's some that we can do at the district office level, but there's a lot that we can't.
Vladimir, can I just give you a couple data points real quick? When we talk about evidence-based grading, I think it's been in our promise for a little while now. But like a lot of things in the promise, and more specifically in the SWIFT plan, they don't get noticed until we actually start doing stuff, and that's where we're at. We had 30 teachers in the pilot program right now, and each of our 5 secondary sites, will be 6 soon, have all taken visitation teams to one of the model high schools in the country that's completely in this space. Also, you know, I spoke with the San Francisco Chronicle not long ago at all about evidence-based grading, and honestly, I think traditional grading will be a dinosaur very soon. And the question was, well, how will that influence or impact college admissions? And my answer is they'll need to figure that out. no different than other things they've had to figure out over time. The traditional, you know, as a principal, as a high school principal, 11 years, I remember having discussions with some of my staff members about, you know, is an 89.2 so precise and so meaningful that that's not an A? And it's just silly. When you really think about it, are we so precise in our measurements that that fraction of a percentage can have a pretty big difference? And to our public commenters' statement about, you know, unlimited time and revisions, I don't think that's a foundational piece of evidence-based grading that I've read or seen anywhere. So I think sometimes we're going to be afraid of things that are not even part of the foundation. So we'll keep writing about it. We'll keep talking about it. This isn't going away, though. It's going to get bigger. And I think the people that aren't coming along, instead of asking, you know, when are you coming along, we're going to, at some point in time, everyone's going to be looking and saying, where are you? This is the way it's going.
Thank you both for your presentation. Really quickly, I want to thank you so much for sharing your experience, because student feedback is key. And so I hope moving forward that we continue to gather student feedback on the promise, but also the actual implementation of the process, because not feeling like you're understanding how you're being graded, which when I was a teacher, that was my goal, is that students understood the rubrics for grading. It counteracts our promise of mental health. So thank you for sharing. I had some questions around, I was really excited to see specific strategies to promote positive school climate. When can we expect to be updated on the progress and implementation of these really specific strategies?
Many of these strategies are underway now. What we're trying to do is refine, fine-tune to make sure that we're getting the outcomes that we are expecting. So there are a lot of people in our group that are partnering up. Particularly, I'm developing a stronger connection with Robert Andrade around some of the policies and practices we have, particularly related to bullying and harassment.
Okay.
So yes, more to come.
Thank you. That's really helpful. One question about innovation is, it talked about engaging students from early grades in creativity programs, and talked about expanding innovation labs at 3 elementary schools. So a question I had is, do all of our elementary schools have innovation labs? And if not, I wonder if our goal should be to offer innovation labs at every elementary school site before expanding the 3. I just didn't know if you could expand on that. I'm not.
It was offered to all school sites, and principals who are ready to take up on it have started implementing. So it's by their choice.
Okay, cool. I did. Thank you. That's helpful. It also mentions the new elementary progress report, and I would love to learn more about that, if anybody can expand on that.
Right, our TOSAs have been working with teachers throughout the district, and they've been developing a way to make the progress report more easily understood by parents and make it more applicable to the exact skills they need to be learning. When we look at the size of a progress report, it can be 4 pages long, and it's overwhelming to parents and teachers. And so we've had amazing work around this, and I can share things with the board, the updates that we've been working on.
Okay, thank you. That would be really great. In terms of literacy, it mentions expanding reading materials and providing increased opportunities for print reading, resulting in limited exposure to digital reading for younger students. And I wholeheartedly support that. And yet I'm wondering, with lots of iReady, how we are going to achieve that.
We will be doing our presentation on our goals for next year at the last board meeting of the year, and we'll be able to expand on that.
Thank you. My last one question I had is, I noticed in one of our goals is to calibrate homework. Sorry, I went through this really, because this is exciting. We don't go through this often. And there was a question about differentiating instruction. And I noticed that only around 15% of students had a favorable response to the question, do your homework assignments give you options, choices, and levels? And my experience being a teacher in the classroom is that is very difficult to do. And so I'm wondering what support can we give our teachers to help them create more differentiated instruction, assessments, et cetera?
That's a great question, and you'll hear more about that when we talk about the SWIFT plan specifically. But essentially, it is providing the resources, a resource hub, and some supports for teachers for universal design for learning and other practices. So we will be building out that hub so teachers have an option to go to. And there's a little AI involved there, but I don't want to unveil that just yet.
Okay, that was my last question. Thank you, all three of you, for addressing my questions and for the presentation.
Okay, we can move on. Okay, so we did our switch, so we're going to go to the SWIFT update now.
All right. It's been a long time since we talked about equity and excellence. Just kidding. So tonight, I'm really pleased to review and discuss the recommendations that we have for the SWIFT plan goals and actions. This is not going to be a presentation. It really is just going to be a talk about how we arrived where we've arrived at this point, with the understanding that there's still a few steps more to go before we really hone those those goals and actions down specifically. But what we outline here is just our transformative approach to shifting culture, practice, and leadership. You've heard me talk about the system-wide integrated framework for transformation. Well, the SWIFT plan is the guidepost for that particular framework. So the work that we have done is to really look at the progress we made on the SWIFT plan in this past year, and where we felt like there were some gaps in areas that we really needed to focus on and work on. I'm proud to say that we've made some progress, but I also recognize, as do my colleagues, that there is a lot more work for us to do where this is concerned. So you will see in the plan, if you've had an opportunity to read it, is that we really expanded our focus on school climate and belonging. And why did we do that? Super simple, because this impacts every single child in our district, no matter what demographic or characteristic. So I feel like we've done a lot of work that will ensure that we're impacting the climate overall for all of our students. But the updates in general didn't come about as a few district office members sitting in an office chatting about what would be great. It really was a consideration of the data, meetings with stakeholders, feedback surveys, as well as those critical, sometimes uncomfortable conversations we've had with individual families, or feedback from students during a listening session where we've really had to open our eyes to the experiences of some of the students on our campuses. In addition, we have tried a way to streamline some of it, so you will see two categories merged. Professional development is now flown through all of the key areas, because we know it's not just a one pullout for PD. So you will see elements of PD everywhere. You will also not see a specific driver for district operations, and there's a very, very good reason for that, because those operations are essential within the major goals that we have. So we've embedded some of those goals across those 4 drivers and domains as well, but that doesn't mean that our district folks and our HR folks still don't have a lot to do. So you just may not see all of it capitalized in the plan. And also what I'm most proud of is that we have expanded our focus on special education and inclusive practices. So you will see some focus areas related to that, also with an understanding that we are going to be building out a strong plan to focus on improving special education. So there will be some elements that you won't see in the SWIFT plan, but we will be adopting very soon with our team developing a plan that's really specific about special education improvement. So what remains right now are 4 domains, which is inclusive and culturally responsive teaching, tiered supports and interventions for students, positive school climate, and school, family, and community partnerships and engagement. We think those 4 areas are critical to shift culture, practice, and leadership in for us to really see transformative change in our district. Some of the examples of the actions that we have, you've seen some of them before, some of them are a little bit new, but the expansion of literacy across K-12 and special education will be pivotal for our work in the coming year. Also, ensuring that our multi-tiered systems of support, which you've probably heard about for 6 years, as long as I've been here, we are off to a really, really great start. We have the tools that we need. We have the people that we need. We just really need to make sure that we get the training and the professional learning in so that we can implement that across the board. Also, you will see something that still surprises me as I look at it, and that is a focus on creating a special education advisory committee with diverse stakeholders, both internal and external stakeholders, so that we are really talking about the future of special education and what that looks like, from beginning to end, from continuum of services to how we're responding to parents and how we're responding to disputes. So much more will be coming on that, and we will make sure that that's managed much like our ad hoc committees are managed, where we are ensuring that there are notes caught and that feedback is taken into our consideration when we're planning. And also, this is a little bit of a sticky area, but we found this sweet spot when it comes to strengthening our district and site response to national and global affairs. We know where we need to do the work when those types of things hurt and impact our children. It is around strengthening well-being and safety in our schools. So it's not about politics. It's not about anything other than ensuring that every student in our community feels safe and that they have the supports they need when they are struggling in a particular area. And finally, also, we want to make sure that we're providing the resources, as I mentioned, for improving and expanding our universal design for learning and providing those resources for restorative practices which will assist us in reducing disproportionality in school discipline. So we have a lot of work to do, and nothing that you've seen here today is easy, but it's all work that is important for us to engage in as we move forward. So our next steps will be on May 25th, we have our last BEOC meeting, our Board Equity Oversight meeting, and that meeting will give our stakeholders the very last opportunity to weigh in on the drivers and the actions of the SWIFT plan. So that meeting's May 25th, everyone, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We only have a small room, so don't bring your friends. The Board Equity Oversight Committee will then review and refine that based on that feedback, and then the SWIFT plan will be formally integrated into the PAUSD promise, and then the district and site teams will embark on the work ahead. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. We have 3 public comments: Stephen Davis, Sarith Honigstein, and Lori Myers.
First of all, I know we're in early days on the SWIFT report and all this, and it's any criticisms or comments I hope should be taken in the spirit of trying to make things better. We judge education for our Palo Alto general education students not by distance to standard, but by excellence. We are substantially above California's standard. Why in our SWIFT plan do we talk about our special education students being held to a much lower standard? Our goal needs not merely to meet California standards, but to close the gap between our special education and general education students, and that's going to be done by raising performance for both. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have another commenter. Let's go in the order I called those. Sarith Honigstein, Lori Myers, and then Uzma.
Lana and the entire SWIFT team, we are immensely grateful for the hard work that went into these revisions. These changes will undoubtedly enhance our students' safety and foster a greater sense of inclusion and belonging within the district. We applaud the introduction of clear reporting mechanisms, crisis intervention strategies, comprehensive support for students affected by hate, harassment, and bullying, the improvements in incident tracking, student feedback and analysis, and data collection are significant advances. Additionally, the immediate reporting of hate incidents in the district at the district level and the firm stance against hate speech from the first offense mark substantial progress. We particularly appreciate the district's willingness to better understand the impact of global affairs on our students, ensuring our students feel safe always. I look forward to participating in more cultural events and welcome the district's active efforts to solicit more community feedback. I'm also pleased to see the inclusion of anti-Semitism training and resources in the plan. I hope that all PAUSD staff, including the board and administrators and teachers, will participate in these initiatives to better understand, identify, and respond to anti-Semitism and all forms of hate in our classrooms. Furthermore, as part of the district operations impacting school climate, we encourage the district to enhance the vetting and monitoring processes for all external content, be it books, media, or speakers, to ensure not only compliance, but also alignment with our district's core values. Finally, I would love to see how we can get the entire student body more engaged in combating all forms of hate on our campuses. Thank you for your wonderful partnership. Thank you.
Lori Myers and then Usma.
My name is Lori Myers. I've lived in Palo Alto for over 30 years, and I'm the parent of 2 gun alums. Thank you so much to Lana Conaway and her team for their wonderful work on the SWIFT plan. Sarit has eloquently detailed these excellent revisions and additions in her remarks. There are 2 specific areas I'm hoping can be added to this revision. The first is anti-Semitism training. As a school administrator myself, I know how hard it is to find time for mandatory professional development. I also know how unlikely it is for teachers to opt into optional PD given their crammed schedules. But this is urgent. The Bay Area region has the 2nd highest rate of anti-Semitism in the United States, the 2nd highest rate in the US. With 3 incidents of anti-Semitism in the district just last week and an increase of nearly 400% since October. Administrators and counselors at minimum need mandatory training so as leaders, they can identify anti-Semitism, address it, and most important, create policy to combat anti-Semitism. And please add Islamophobia training as well. PAUSD has a great working relationship with Facing History, and they can do both. The second is vetting. Sadly, we all know there's a huge amount of misinformation out there, from orgs that seem legit but turn out to be bad actors, as is now being investigated in SFUSD, to speakers who appear benign but whose content is at best incorrect and at worst illegal, as happened at Wilcox in Santa Clara. Please create a clear district-wide process to vet all external content promoted or sponsored through the district, including in student clubs, to ensure compliance with laws and codes. This is about our kids. Finally, thank you again to Lana Conaway and her team. We are grateful to have such a dedicated administrator who goes out of her way to care so deeply about our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Usma.
Hi, thank you, Lana, for that update. There's some really great things in there. Sadly, I do need to talk about, for the Muslim and MENA community, things for us here in Palo Alto have gotten worse, a lot worse. Any solidarity with Palestine has resulted in not only hateful epithets, but also horrific physical violence. This has also been seen nationwide on college campus and protests and encampments. UCLA is just one example where counter-protesters were violently assaulting peaceful student protesters. One student journalist was actually thrown to the ground and kicked multiple times. This is affecting us here in Palo Alto. There's been a stream of hateful and racist attacks. This includes on social media, in public places, and towards our own students in the school district. It's really important that the board and staff acknowledge that we are actually not safe right now. I'm glad the SWIFT plan addresses both Jewish and Muslim groups. I think there's a few additional things that I want to add. First, it's really, really important that we have both Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian racism. These are 2 distinct areas, and anti-Palestinian racism affects people of all backgrounds and all faiths. This includes Muslim people, Jewish people, non-believers, LGBTQ, everyone. It's distinct type of racism, and it can overlap with anti-Arab and Islamophobia racism, but it's not the same thing. Additionally, we need to add Palestinians and Arabs as their own ethnicity, in addition to the religions of Jewish and Muslim, which are religions. We need, I don't have much time, so I'm gonna talk quickly. We need better representation. We need leadership support in developing a cross-cultural lens. We need to understand history. We can't censor lived narratives. Ethnic studies is a good start. We absolutely need that class. That class can be the spark that lights the much needed dialogue and growth. Students
you.
need to be free to have
Thank you,
dialogue
Uzma.
and understanding.
You can email us the rest of your comments at pausd.org. Okay, let's move to student board reps. Do you guys have comments? No? All right, colleagues?
Okay, I'll go after. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Conway and all staff. I mean, I know everyone works on this, and no matter where you work in the district, this impacts the work that you do, which is appropriate. As I read through it, I was struck by how much more of a, I don't know if mature document is the right thing, but like when we started it, it was kind of this idea that let's see if we've got the promise, and then within it is equity, but it needs like its own thing. And it you know, like your team put some stuff together, and it was really important. It was a great start, but each year it just seems more dialed in to what's going to make a difference for kids and staff and the community. And so I'm so grateful for the deep thinking and the hard conversations that happen over and over and over again. And the improvements in this document, like I didn't even know we needed them. And as you presented them, I thought, oh, wow, yeah, that makes total sense. Also very grateful for the inclusion of the students with disabilities as a group that clearly should be included in the same way. So I am very supportive of these changes and look forward to BEOC on Thursday and to supporting this. Thank you.
That reminded me of, was it 2021 that Ms. Conaway and I were drafting the charter for the committee? I actually wanted to talk about, as we've been reminded, we're going to have a new board, a majority new board next year, and a lot of folks who may be interested in serving or participating. This is around the time that folks start listening to these meetings. So I think it's beneficial to give a little context to a lot of these things. So, the SWIFT plan is a perfect example of what I talked about earlier in the sense of setting, what is the board's role when it comes to taking a goal and the promise that the board has set and sort of shepherding it down to the implementation. And so the SWIFT plan is a great example because what we did, and Dr. DiBrienza and Ms. Ladimirak were instrumental in this piece, was we created a framework and we created a process. And when Ms. Ladimirak and I were on the very first BEOC committee, I think we both said what we need to do is we need to create a framework and process that essentially outlives us on the board. That's our entire point. That's the entire point of what we're doing here. We're not here to do the work because the district staff is doing the work. Ms. Conaway had been doing the work and all the staff had been doing the work, and our goal was really to take what was in the promise in terms of equity and excellence, create a framework and a process that would outlive our tenures on the board. And now the function of the BEOC is to safeguard that process. The two board members on that committee meet and they safeguard the process that the board approved of in the first year of BEOC. And staff under Ms. Conaway do the work, the hard work, including soliciting stakeholder input, incorporating that, using the guiding framework to create the initiatives and the action items and the timelines and everything. And as Dr. DiBrienza said, this is, it's a giant living plan that is just sort of guided by a framework and a process the board created and now safeguards. So that is a perfect example of where the delineation is between the board's role and staff's role to me. It's a shiny example, especially because it's so new. You can see the creation, the development, and how it actually is affecting students. Students and families whom the SWIFT plan directly affects probably could care less about how the SWIFT plan was created or that there's a SWIFT plan or what the BEOC, what the board members on BEOC are doing, right? And yet those are the kinds of things that we have to think about as board members, knowing that with staff's work in implementing what we set, this will eventually, if not tomorrow, affect students. So just 30,000-foot look at the SWIFT plan as sort of an analogy for board work.
actually was taking a lot of notes. I thought that was very well said. One second, I was taking notes on a different document. Because there's one part I want to make sure I say. I'm really happy to see that the SWIFT plan has been expanded and includes insights. And I just wanted to read it. The students from diverse backgrounds, including those are Asian American, AIPI, Muslim, Jewish, LGBTQ+, students with disabilities, and individuals experiencing bullying, harassment of any form. I just wanted to pull it up to read it exactly. And address any groups who have faced challenges related to belonging. I thank you for including that. I also want to make, it is imperative that we do not lose sight of the SWIFT report data that we discussed earlier this year, that our Black students with and without disabilities rated well-being, school safety, school climate, and sense of belonging significantly lower than average. So as we move forward and expand our plan, I just want to make sure we continue to put focus on, commit to, and provide ongoing data about the experience of our Black students, offer parent and student listening sessions, continue to do this, and continue our commitment. I just wanted to highlight that. And then one other question I had is, what is the, I've spent time on the Equity and Alliance, Equity and Excellence Alliance, and I'm wondering what is the future of that for next year?
Well, we're shifting focus right now. Everyone enjoyed the Equity and Excellence Alliance, but it's time to let the birds fly and bring that work back to their school site. I will be meeting on a monthly basis with the Multicultural Affairs Liaison so that we can all ensure that we are in alignment with our work and that those individuals are taking strategies back to their site. But I think our leaders are ready to fly a little bit on their own with some resources and support from the district office.
I have a couple comments. First, I just want to say thank you to the community members who just spoke. I met with some of you individually, and if not you individually, then other community, Jewish and Muslim community members, and it was a wonderful experience to know that I could say to people, I hear you, that your children don't feel safe, and I hear you that your children don't feel included, and I promise you we are on this. And we have a framework in place that can address, this does not have to be, we don't have to reinvent the wheel right here. And so to hear you stand up and validate that my trust in Ms. Conway and the process was well-founded was lovely, thank you. And I also want to appreciate what Ms. Siegel just spoke about our Black students. We were at the last BEOC meeting, and there was a parent there who's not a Black parent, and he said at one point, I had no idea it was this bad. And this is a parent who has been come in recently through the events in the Middle East, and is somebody who's newly clued into the equity work that we're doing in our district, and he was shocked by the data on our Black students. So it is important that we not lose sight of how different their experience is in many ways than even other students who are also not feeling included and safe in our district. I also just want to reiterate some of Mr. Durap's comments. And when I think back to our very first BEOC meeting, when we were sitting around a room and trying to be like, okay, where do we go? The fact that we've gotten this far, I mean, I was elected in 2020. That meeting wasn't until 2021, probably almost a year into. I mean, we've come so extraordinarily far in just a few years. When I look at this document, I mean, this is basically a one-year business plan is what you've created here. I mean, you have, this is what we're doing this year. You have actions, you have metrics, I am so happy to see that this is where we've evolved, and so grateful. And I do think when you're running for the board, you have big ideas about what you want to accomplish. And then you get on the board and like 90% of what you do has nothing to do with what you wanted to accomplish. I love Mr. Holm, but I am so tired of talking about construction. It feels like that's all we do is look at the budget and we look at construction. But then it's nice to be reminded, looking at this document, okay, wait, no, it takes, and to the point about, you know, it's incremental progress. And so I really meant what I said to Mr. Gaudapati earlier, just about it can feel like it's never going to happen. And it's, believe me, nobody feels that way more than the people sitting up here. We see where we need to go, and it just feels like we are never going to get there. But I actually have, so I'm grateful to Ms. Conaway for all the work that you and your staff have done, and I'm glad we can just sort of take a minute and recognize, measure backwards. Okay, no. We have made really good progress. We have so much farther to go, but we finally, I feel like, have a plan that'll help us get there. So thank you for presenting this, and I will not be, no more nostalgia. All right, now, speaking of Mr. Holm, is he still here? Or is somebody else going to do his?
Tired of construction, he went home. We actually have Ms. Chow's going to present the last one.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. This next item is the first read for our architectural services agreement with CAW Architects, and this is for the audiovisual improvements at Gunn High School, specifically in the Spangenberg Theater. This project started out with just doing some AV system upgrades, but it has grown into quite a bit more than that as we discovered the really pretty substantial need to do safety upgrades in the upper rafters and catwalk area, as well as ADA accessibility. So for that reason, the project has grown in scope. We have an architect in it. It's going through DSA at this point. So this is just the first read.
Okay, thank you. We have no public comments. Student board reps? Anything? Colleagues? Anything? Okay. I think you have one more item.
Okay, this item is also on behalf of Mr. Holmes, and this is to award the contract for the Cumming Group. They're another vendor that we are going to be working with for project management on our construction projects. They're going to be doing some of the HVAC and roofing projects. These are mostly the projects that are planned maintenance in that category, not necessarily new construction, but work that is necessary to keep our facilities safe and functional.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any comments? Students, colleagues? No? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Chow. All right, now information items. Does anybody, we have no public comments. Does anybody here have any comments? Colleagues, board members, about any information items? No? All right, then we can move on to board operations. Anybody? Not today. No?
I mean, there's so much happening. No, there's not, I mean, you guys have summarized everything that's happening.
We've been to some of those events. And they were great. And we love all our students. Okay, anybody? Anything? Okay. Then I believe we are adjourned.